Trevino,
Present. Roxy.
Commissioner Cantu,
Here.
Mayor Mendez,
Here.
Mayor Darling,
Present.
Mayor Molina,
Here.
Mayor Vanya,
Present, ma'am.
Mayor Boswell,
Here.
Mayor Guerra, Frank Parker,
Here.
David Yanda,
Here, Roxy.
Tom Logan,
Present.
Mr. Alvarez,
Present.
Manuel Cruz,
Here.
Sergio Contreras,
Here.
yeah, Farso.
Good, thank you. Do anybody sign up for public comments? All right. I hope everybody has had a chance to review the minutes from April 28th, 2021. And if so, do we need a motion to, motion for approval? All right, second. Did you get that, Commissioner McCallum? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Passes, thank you. Yes. Go ahead and go to the agenda. Let's go.
Yes, sir, be glad to. Consent agenda, item number 2.1, discussion and possible action of FY 2022-2023 Unified Planning Work Program. Staff will give that update myself. This is our in-house budget that we have for staff and any consultant contracts that we, thank you, Luis. Any consulting contracts that we may undertake over the next 2 years, we perform a 2-year budget. So we're preparing for 22-23. Our allocation from TxDOT is identified as $2.2 million annually. As you can see with the budget, it's also shown on the screen for each one of the years, 22 and 23. We have $1.8 million reflected. We would also like to say that we did do a program call of projects to undertake for the local governments. The city of Harlingen was the only one who approached us. And we have a couple of corridor studies that we're looking forward to doing for the city of Harlingen. We're working on the scope and the budget of that, but the budget is also inclusive in this budget. We will cover 80% of it. Be able to move forward and include that in our budget for corridor studies for the city of Harlingen. It was approved unanimously at the TAC level, and staff is asking for approval this afternoon.
Okay. Do we have a motion for approval? Okay. Second, Dr. Ocaña, Commission. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It passes. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Next item.
Item 2.2, discussion and possible action on trade fair partnership with NCT COG. I'll be giving an update on that. I have some slides on the screen to follow along with if we can. Next slide. Through my conversations that I have on a regular basis of visiting with each of the cities or city staff in where we are and the way of project development and moving forward, we have discussions on projects, what projects are lingering, what projects are taking longer, what projects can be accelerated. Through conversations with the CCRMA, we identified that the Veterans Bridge project, which the MPO has fully funded in FY 2026, is prepared to move forward right now. All they're lacking is getting into the tip years and receiving an AFA from TxDOT along with the letter of authority. So a couple of months back at the policy board, we had a conversation with Pete from the CCRMA as we were talking about the updates on the Veterans Bridge about trying to see if there was money to swap out. And the comment was made, or the question was asked, if there were fundings within Cameron County to swap out to move that project forward, and it was identified that there was not. And at that time, the comment was made that we should see what we could do about trying to move the project forward. So from that, what I did is I reached out to the larger MPOs in the state: Houston, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso, and Dallas. Next slide. Conversation about a trade fair, and a trade fair was something that TxDOT used to host on a regular basis. Which basically gave MPOs the opportunity to come together in the same room and look where they were on their financial obligations and authority and see which projects they had that were going to be able to move forward, which projects they weren't, and have a trading of funds, although keeping the state budget exactly where it was, but accelerating the best projects able to move forward. So I approached NCT COG, Michael Morris, who has great experience with this, in a discussion about this to see if there was any opportunities for funding available from them to be able to have a discussion about Veterans Bridge. Next slide. And through that, we were able to identify, well, we weren't able to identify, NCT COG was able to identify that, yes, indeed, they did have $14.6 million that they had been saving up for a project that they were not in immediate need for. They are willing to loan us, if you will, the $14.6 million now so we could identify the Veterans Bridge project in FY22, allowing them to seek their AFA and their letter of authority from TxDOT. And we would simply in 4 years interest-free pay back the $14.6 million to NCT COG. This would require some action from TxDOT to simply switch those funds around. Next slide, please. Next one. As you can see, I'm sorry, it appears better on this screen and this screen than this one, but as you can see, it's simply what it does is it removes the 14 million and change from NCT COG and allocates it to the MPO, the RGVMPO. And then in 2026, it allocates the funds to NCT COG and takes it from our budget. So this would allow it to move forward. I do also want to say that through discussions with Pete, we were able to also identify that there's a savings of $2.2 million in accelerating the project that was identified in local funds because of the interest that was associated with it being outside of the tip years. So if us moving it forward into the tip years, there's 2.2 million saved to the local government on accelerating that project. Next slide. So the requested action from staff today is NCT COG Policy Board has unanimously approved having the trade fair with the RGVMPO. So staff is requesting the Rio Grande Valley to be able to transfer the funds. It received the $14.6 million of Category 7, which is also STBG funds in 22, and a distribution of the $14.6 million back to NCT COG in 2026. And the final slide, please. And allow staff to enter into an MOU with NCT COG, agreeing to those terms, and then directing staff to monitor the funding transfer through TxDOT and through the process. I have visited with Pete Alvarez, our district engineer. We are waiting for clarification. We've done this once before when we were the Hidalgo County MPO for the city of Mercedes. At that time, it took TxDOT commission action. We're hopeful that through a conversation with TPMP, if the board should approve this today, that TPMP would approve this and it be an administrative function. So on the next tip update, we could get this item taken care of. With that, I'll be glad to answer any and all questions of how we got to this point.
So we're going to essentially, we're going to accelerate a project in the RGV. We went to Dallas and asked them that we're going to just swap out our Category 7 money from a project that was given Category 7 money in 2026. And we're going to flip it to 2022 by using their money. And when 2026 comes around for Cameron, we'll pay them back.
Correct.
Pretty much, right?
Yes, sir.
So
it is, Mayor. It is out of that sub-region allocation of funding only. In 2026, Brownsville had the $14.6 million, and they have another smaller project for $3 million. So those were the only two projects that they had allocation of Category 7 funds in that year.
great. What about Hidalgo County? Do they have any Category 7 that they could swap or use in similar fashion? Or
well, the projects that we have are most important to us are projects that are already within the tip years and able to receive the AFAs and the letters of authority. We have no projects outside of the tip through my rounds of conversation with everyone that if we were able to shift any funds to would be able to go into the tip immediately and go to construction within the next fiscal year. This project can.
And so,
or be let, should I say, the next fiscal year.
Sure. But let's stick to the Hidalgo County conversation. Now, we already know Cameron. I don't want to talk about Cameron right now.
Okay.
So in Hidalgo County,
yes, sir.
So is there not any projects that could benefit from the discussion of using Category 7? It's great to have a bank. I mean, see what it is, right? It's a bank in our tip.
To do the same thing we did with this? No.
Yeah. None?
None.
So, yeah.
I may understand your question, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know if this is your question, but I know that, for instance, Hidalgo County has projects that are ready to let that are outside the tip. And I think from our experience, they're usually work within the county, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each step forward, if a project's not moving, you take it out and replace it.
Correct.
That's correct.
And I think to answer your question, if that's your question, we have several projects waiting to be led into the 2022 TIF.
Yeah.
Right?
That is a question.
And I might have one, the inspiration of military, I need to go back and review it, given the opportunity that might be accelerated.
But I mean, I think that's your question. I don't understand your answer. What was your answer?
My answer was no. Through my conversations with, as I understood it, with TxDOT and with our partners, as I have these conversations, we don't have any projects that we moved them and accelerated them. Everything was in place to be able to let within the next fiscal year. That is my understanding through my conversations with everyone that I visit through, with from staff to consultants to.
But like, for instance, our consultant, they sent an email to you on several projects and you
Mhm.
were looking at,
Mhm.
but they haven't been moved.
Well, they haven't been moved because we haven't been allowed to do a tip cycle yet. That's not because of staff and the availability. If you keep in mind, we haven't been able to touch the tip and update it for the last year, and we're hopeful that we're able to in August. That's a separate item from this. We're still hopeful when that tip cycle comes around to address those things that we have.
And that's what we have to do
And that
for
we have
veterans,
been-
right? We got to do the same thing for veterans, move it into a TIF cycle.
It has to be right away ready.
Oh, 100%.
Yes, sir.
Right.
No, we agree. But it's the same situation with Cameron, which we need veterans. Don't get me wrong, we need it desperately. But it's the same scenario. We have to move it into the tip, right?
Correct.
Well, it is for 2026. Just needs to be changed out.
No, it's not the tip.
No, 2026 is not the tip.
No.
No, not the chip, no.
No, sir. Same, which is what he's saying, same thing.
Right.
So the only issue, we're delighted that we have the brain power to do this. That's awesome. The only thing that I want to urge the board, because you guys are in charge, right? Not the director, you guys, is remember we're an RGVMPO, and so we just need to make it where, because I found out about it because I'm always reading the agenda and the minutes and stuff, and when I was going through it, I couldn't understand and I couldn't remember when we had this discussion at the board where, hey, listen, there is, and we've done it before, and I don't want to do anything to compromise this project, where we've discussed it at the board saying, by the way, there is an MPO like El Paso. Wasn't El Paso the one we talked to also about a FAR project, the OWASA?
Yes, sir.
So we've looked at this before, but bringing it forward like we did to Dow County MPO, and guys, there's money, there's a ability for us to swap as an organization. Where are everybody's projects? And then try and figure out what is the best intent for the region. And so I just wanted to make sure we discuss that, because I know, for instance, FAR has projects and they're in the tip and they're funded. But would I appreciate a little bit more love in the category 7 and I have to put less? Well, yes, just like you guys would, right? It's okay. And mine's ready to go. I mean, we're actually, breaking ground. We're good to go. But I don't want to ruin anybody's parade. I just wanted to make sure we had the discussion here that as we move in this direction, we really got to take everybody's project, every partner, every board member's project into account. And not just, move only FAR's project, like that would be inappropriate. So I know for a fact that the Hidalgo County as a whole does have those kind of projects that would benefit, they would. And so we need to figure out a happy medium or for all of us at the RGVMPO, because remember, we are one MPO now. And so I wanted to have the discussion here and in a collegial way, in a positive way. And if it's not ready to go, then we just table it, right? It's just 1 month. You lose nothing, because the tip's not going to happen even until August anyway. So I wanted to open up, besides Commissioner Cantu already made a comment. Anybody else have any commentary on this or suggestion or?
Why don't we do this, Mayor? Can look at the other projects?
Do an inventory of what you have.
Exactly.
Have discussions with some of the other organizations. If there's anyone else that has money.
Well, you can answer that already, right?
Well, I had to identify a project specific because Dallas wanted to know what project it was going on for them to consider it and what was the
No,
urgency.
he's asking, is there any other MPOs category 7 did that?
No, sir.
Right, we already did that.
And I want to say that I understand full well what Commissioner Cantu is asking, but they're two different answers. Only from the standpoint that, yes, we're mindful as staff of the request that we've received to shift those projects around. We're still waiting to shift those projects around at the time of doing the tip, so we can do that. That has nothing to do with a project that hasn't asked to move forward until this point that we're able to identify funding with. So those are two different scenarios, because we know that we're mindful of the requests we've gotten. We just haven't been able to touch the tip or to STIP to do an
Right,
update
but-
yet
No,
in
but
a year.
hold on, Andrew, but they're saying the same thing. They're both ready to go. We just need to get them in the tip.
But it's two different ways that it's being handled, so respectfully, his request is coming in and we're mindful of it and we're moving forward as soon as we can with a tip update. This is something different from that we have a project we're asking to be brought into the tip years to be funded so that we can swap over funds and accelerate the project.
By August, they're both going to be ready.
I don't know.
He does.
So on their request, I don't see an issue.
Right.
And you did a hell of a job getting, I'm bringing this up because you don't have very many opportunities to
Sure.
bring this up. So I'm fine with that, and I'm glad you did what you did for them in a short period of time.
Thank you.
30 days, that was amazing. Just want to make it clear, you have projects that you sent emails about several months ago, want the same kind of love for those projects. And so at least maybe update where we're at, where you're going to take action, or where you're going to find the money. We're going to do it within our own county funds, RGVMPO funds. Let us know. And then not just, hey, we're looking at it. Because that request, our request was sent a long time.
Yes, sir.
This request was just made last meeting or the meeting before. Did a hell of a job bringing them the money.
Great job.
That's what you're going to do for our projects. That's all I'm saying.
Chairman, can I,
Yes, sir.
how much does the bank have?
Just North Texas, the
There,
Dallas.
there is no bank.
No. We're just saying, how much category 7 are they able to swap out?
I heard, they had approximately 50 million left over.
He would know. I don't know.
I'm just,
Unless you know, Commissioner. That's what I-
I have no knowledge of any money at NCT cog other than the 14.6 requested. I did not ask what their balance was. It's none of my, I asked about the,
No, but you did the research. You checked other MPOs as well. I mean, when
Yes,
you
sir.
looked around, so you know that's the only, that is the amount that's
I
available.
talked to every TMA in the state of Texas, which is an MPO above 200,000 personally.
Could we ask that staff prepare a comprehensive update projects, present to the board of
Right.
this type, I mean, get this approved, but at the next meeting, get a comprehensive update of all the projects that are out there that potentially could fall and utilize this type of funding opportunity.
With the hope that if they come back next month and they say, you know what, as it turns out, I'm going to make this up, there's 10 projects, you know what? So then, is that the time that this board's going to say, you know what, of the 14.6 million that's out there, category 7, throughout the RGV, we're going to divvy it up? Is that what we're saying? Or
I'm saying fund this project.
or fund this project and then sort it out?
And then let's have a comprehensive update of all other available projects that could possibly be utilized in the same manner and go out and look for the money. There's money out there,
But there isn't. We already did that.
you know.
It's a one-time shot. I mean, it is what it is. It's not a negative. It's just that is what's available in the state of Texas.
Project in another area drops out and they can't spend. And
I would imagine if their board approved it, yes, sir, if they'd be willing to do the same thing.
they'd be willing to do the same thing.
Yes, sir.
Just a matter of asking.
Right.
Chairman,
Mhm.
Andrew, going along with his point, maybe if we were able to show all the projects that the cities and the counties have actually put money and effort in, and you got them to where they're at now, if we were able to produce some type of spreadsheet, maybe that's the way we're going to get more money to do this MPO, because we haven't gotten any additional money. Yet everybody continues to put skin in the game, right?
We do.
We have a lot of projects with skin in the game.
Yes, sir.
We have no new money. So maybe this is the mechanism we need to produce to the commission.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Don't ask once. Annual.
Well, I think that comprehensive list, I don't mind sharing it, but I think it's there because we share the MTP table. And that is a comprehensive list of every project we have and where they stand on the funding. At the-
Level that could be
Yes, sir.
Right.
this year.
And we are just posed with the unique situation, if you will, that we also have sub-regions. So I have to work into financial constraints of each one of those sub-regions because I may have a project in one region that's moving slower than another, but we can't make the recommendation that we accelerate that other project with that money because those allocations remain independent. So then it presents an interesting hurdle for us to overcome. And that's what we were looking at here. There was no, I mean, the allocation to the Cameron County, Brownsville area, because they're the only one that receives category 7, Harlan, San Benito doesn't yet, is very minimal at most. And that's why we were taking a look at that project for the $14 million, because I can't bring on any money from projects that might be moving slower here or vice versa, because we have sub-region allocation. So trying to stay within those confines is the other reason we reached out to other MPOs to see if there was a funding opportunity to be able to address that.
I believe that between the two counties, we have enough projects ready to be let. If we need to be banging on the door of the commission and saying, you asked us to merge, we have merged.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, so some kind of creative way of doing
Yes, sir.
whatever we can do something.
I agree.
I don't disagree with that at all. It's,
What are the rules and regs that rule is trade fair? Loaning and borrowing. Do you have reference to that?
Andrew?
to
The rules of
reference-
engagement. The rules.
It's a trade fair.
I don't know of any rules. It's just it's just working with Austin to make sure that the bank balance stays whole at what it is.
We're gonna let it.
We do an MOU.
And we have to look at the bigger umbrella. The state has to be within the category 7 allocations.
Right.
What happens if the shortfall in 2027, if that allocation is no longer there?
We're both, yeah, 10 years of you.
Right. It's already identified, so we're secured the money.
From the sub-region.
I know you are. Yeah, I have no problem with that. That's right.
Trying to save a little money.
No, I agree. I just have to make sure everybody understands that there's three subregions. And if Commissioner Cantu, for instance, if his only obstacle is, well, I just need to wait for the tip to be updated in August for the county project, and if there's some city projects like say Mission that they're ready to go, and that's the only thing holding them back. Well, I just want to be sure, is that really fair and equitable for us to, as a MPO, say, well, we're only going to, and nothing, we know we need veterans. Nobody's, targeting that, but well, wait a minute, we're in the same boat. In my eyes, we're in the same boat, and we should be looking at it from an equitable standpoint. Well, how many do you really have it? And we look at it, and it turns out that, he's right. He's got about, $4 or $5 million worth. Well, he could have been accelerating his. And it's not, to me, it's not fair for us to say, well, you're not in the tip, but well, neither are you. And we're waiting for that. So either we're all in the tip or we're not. And there are projects, for instance, I could whine about FAR, but we do have projects and they're in the tip and I'm funding it. I'm putting a lot of local match in. I could have used some of that money, but I didn't even know about it, which is okay. But I think that's why we need to talk about it and make it fair and equitable. That's all.
We just got into the opportunity.
No. And that's what I'm saying. Like Eddie said, we congratulate it. It's an awesome endeavor, and I'm glad they did it.
And I just want to say the other reason we looked at this as well is because through the border master plan, which was adopted by TxDOT and the board, this was identified as a high impact project for the region.
Of course.
So
it is.
it was up at the top tier of projects that needed to get funded to be able to move forward with it being a port of entry project. So that's the other reason we looked at it more immediately.
No doubt
Try
that
to
it's
get that project accelerated.
No doubt. That's not the issue.
Mayor, I think Michael Morris said it best. He had a conversation with his board. We sat in via video that he's hoping that once we do whatever action may be taken here and then present it to TxDOT, that TxDOT may see the necessity to re-engage having the trade fairs and see where there are opportunities for MPOs to be able to work together equitably to be able to advance projects and get those out instead of just having money sit stagnant and other areas of projects not moving. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Well, try to.
They used to be, yeah. Jim, did you have something to say, or you're good? Okay. Trey?
Honestly, it's very high.
Absolutely, yes, sir. For the whole region. Yeah, I'm sorry. Pete?
So just a couple of comments. First and foremost, we need to encourage all local governments.
Of course.
That really is what holds the potential trade fairs. Two, I want to remind everybody that when you look at categories 2 and category 7, the amount of money available are approximately 300 million for the 10
Yeah, they're limited.
right? But the amount of projects that have been identified is closer to 600 million.
Yes.
And so there's a couple of things that need to happen in order for us to be able to accelerate projects as we move forward. Commissioner Cantu, you are executive director. There has been requests by Hidalgo County and other local governments of adding projects to the TIP. And those requests have been acknowledged by the MPO, they have been received, and they're being evaluated, right? What they're being evaluated against is there's X amount of projects that already equal, let's use 200 million as a, as a round number. And if projects are going to be put in, we only have 200 million. So what is it that we're willing to maybe push back a couple of years, 1, 2, 4 years, whatever that may be, in order to be basically constrained?
We agree.
That day we have to hit that target number. Are there projects out there that are very good, that are moving faster than others? Of course they are. That's why it's imperative that this policy board identifies what are the highest priority projects that are shovel ready. And I think we all are the understanding that whenever there's a shovel ready project, it's a benefit to the region, it's going to go to the top of the list, right? We've talked about that in the past. So let's keep an open mind, continue to develop projects. And if projects become shovel ready, let's look for those opportunities, potential for trade fairs with other regions, should the money become bigger. It takes two, it takes a partner, right? And so that region, in this case, it was Central Texas COG that had the availability, so we worked with them. And correct me if I'm wrong, you checked with the other three NPOs, the larger NPOs, that they did not have any funding.
Actually 4, but yes.
And they did not have any funding.
Correct.
And that's fine. So let's get project shovel ready. We continue the open discussion. And if we want to accelerate projects, just keep in mind that physical constraint. What are we willing to delay a year or two in order to bring that project forward? I think that that's a very important discussion that this policy board needs to have and vote in order to be able to move forward with that.
That's for the comprehensive update.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, right?
Yes. I agree, but nobody disagrees with me. That's, it's obvious what you're saying. We're already doing that. We agree, as this board made that a priority. So that, but that's not what the discussion is. At least in my mind, that's not what it is. In my mind is if the only thing separating the two projects or three projects, whatever it is, in the RGV, not just Hidalgo or Cameron, the only thing separating them, from my understanding from my partners even in Hidalgo, they tell me, you know what, as soon as August comes around, which is not up to him, right? It's up to TxDOT, and we update the tip and they're going to be ready to go. So as chairman, I have to answer to him and them and other people, right? And Trey, well, why wasn't my project funded? Because I did everything I was supposed to do. I got a shovel ready. I'm in the tip come August. Because it's not like the veterans projects in the tip, sir. It's not going to get into August. If everything's the same, how did you choose that versus the other? How did you vote? Why did you vote in that manner? We have to answer that, but it's not for me to answer. Actually, it's actually for the entire board to answer. What do you guys want to do? And that's why I'm making sure we have the discussion.
Because it's 100%.
But others projects are 100% fully funded as well. So that can't be the sole criteria.
No, that's how we.
Yes. I know how you guys did it in 2026. Yes, sir. I agree.
Real quick for the record, I just want to mention for live streaming
sorry.
and recording purposes. So please make sure that the mic is on.
Oh, yeah. Make sure your mic's
Because otherwise you're not coming out through the recording or the live stream. Just wanted to mention that before. Sorry. Thank you.
on. Right.
Anyways, Mayor, I'd like to make a comment just real quick. The terms of the repayment are still to be determined. So that's going to be pending. And all I'm saying is because this project in 4 years is not going to be $14,578,885. How is that? Is there going to be interest on that? I'm just asking.
No, sir. It's interest free for 4 years. The amount that we will repay back to NCT COG will be $14,578,800.
And I assume the access will be covered. Who's the lead? Who's leading this project? Is it the county, the city? Who's doing it?
The county
County?
is leading the project.
The county. So it's fully funded. So I mean, and it obviously makes sense overruns you. The
Right.
county,
Yes,
because you're
we're-
speaking with the county, right?
the
You're the one who's
bridge
gonna
Yeah.
man up and pay it.
That's right.
That's how they make up their difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just happen to hopefully save some dollars in interest and in time by doing it now versus 4 years from now.
Yes.
And
I get
cost.
it. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I just had some Hidalgo County projects that as soon as they get the tip, they're going to be ready. And in August, they're going to be asking. So let's just have a discussion now.
Yeah.
What do we do? Do we table and sort this out? Do we vote and say, let one project have it all? Do we say, wait, let's redo the list and figure out where we're at and divvy it up? I don't know, but I need guidance from somebody. this board.
Well, I would move that we approve this item. Simple as that.
Second, because, I mean, I think that as a board, 2 months ago or a month ago, we all said,
Mhm.
let's move it forward. That's the only reason you did this, right, Andrew? That's why you wanted from this money?
It's the only reason I did.
This exercise cannot move the project forward. I'm a little jealous. I want to go.
Well, we'll back you up on any project that comes up, I mean, on anyone.
So there's tools to pay for money.
Yeah.
Well, is it-
I think that's not-
okay, well, just for clarification, it's not for the, it's the GSA footprint, so you're not gonna get that money for a while. But that's fine. Hey, we have first and then second, any further discussion? Oh, Yes,
Just
Pete.
want to make sure, I agree with the idea of doing a reconciliation of all projects.
Yes, sir.
Whenever we propose projects to be added to the tip,
Yes.
that has to be fiscally constrained. And I just
We
want to
know.
make sure that everybody understands that, because the needs are much greater
We
than
know.
the availability.
We know there's not a magic pot of money. We know, sir.
And my intention was not to complicate things, just if I could say from the staff level too, because some of my staff helped me and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate what you said, Commissioner, because that's exactly why we moved forward with it. It's just also at the same time, I could see us having the same discussion, sort of the other way, if you will, if we were able to identify $10 million to go to Hidalgo County projects, because then we would have Cameron County projects that would also be ready.
Look,
He'd be the first one.
we're in it together.
So, no, and I appreciate that. So, I mean, there was no
mean-
necessary favoritism given to anything other than we felt like that was the mandate and some of the guidance, and we wanted to move forward with something we thought was a really high impactful project that was identified. Staff is diligently, I probably visit with Rudy every day as we prepare, because we're moving forward like we are going to have an August update to the tip. We haven't been told that. It could still be November, but we are working on that. And we are preparing that information so we can get that to everybody as if we are doing August. So I apologize for any confusion it may have thrown into the works. That wasn't staff's intention, is just to try to accelerate projects.
My question would have been, would this vote be any different if you hadn't already gone to the North Texas COG before this meeting? And if it wouldn't, that's a pretty easy answer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but the board said to try to do this, and they succeeded.
Did it?
That's all.
Nope.
But if I could just make another comment to
What you said, Pete, and everybody understands the constraints we're under. I would guess that when we were first talking about merging the MPOs, that at this point, we would have already had new money. That would have been our best guess 2 years ago. So I ask you to help us go to the commission and ask them, or the governor, whoever, the governor wanted this to happen, we made this happen, where's our money? So help us make that presentation to them so we can have a little less constraint.
I agree with you 100%.
I think it carries more weight if you go, I go. I mean, you know that when we're there.
Whatever it takes, I mean.
We advocate, I say we, the Park District advocates for this region on a regular basis. I do want to make a point of clarification. As far as categories 2 and category 7, we did receive an additional $29 million because of the merger. Is that correct, Andrew? Correct. So there's been some additional allocation already put forth. Unfortunately, we were so far over budget that it just sucked it all up, and that
Oh, I
was
thought you were gonna say we were so far behind, because we were behind.
Well, but we were our budget, because we have our needs are 600 million plus, right? And so I think that's adequate. When we do a tip amendment, right? That we agreed on all these projects. That's where the reconciliation will help us all better understand what the needs are.
Now, if Andrew was having to give up money that we had to someone else upstate, me as a board member would be pretty pissed off,
I'd have my boxes packed.
right? Because that's not what we're here for. We're here, I mean, all
You've
of us are
been
trying.
in Arasaka somewhere, probably.
Yeah, in San Benito. Yeah, but we're here to have projects developed and ready to go so that as soon as any resources available, we can fund them. That's it,
Any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor, really
Yes.
quick. I'm going to ask the same question for the record, because I asked a question and apparently it wasn't on record. The only thing I'm concerned about is it says the terms of the repayment are still to be determined. So that's a gray area. Another thing I want to confirm is the repayment, the $14,578,885. will be paid back the exact amount. There'll be no interest or no any changes to that, Andrew?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay.
And what we meant by the terms is just, receiving the MOU, which NCET called was waiting until action from the board today to begin to author up, so that we could have the MOU sent to TxDOT for the swapping of funds, but that money, there is no interest, it's the exact same amount that the board approved today.
Okay.
And that's the only way we would agree to it.
Okay.
All right, hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you. What? I thought we had a motion first.
I think the
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry. Yes, yes.
You're with us in this meeting, right?
My bad.
All right. Don't get rattled, bro.
Just
Thank
a
you.
discussion.
It's a discussion.
No, right there.
There's no pink slips. It's okay.
No, thank you. Item 2.3, discussion and possible action of redesignation amendment. Staff is asking for this item to be tabled to be brought back next month, as we are finalizing some things in the document, dotting our i's and crossing our t's.
And Dr., thanks, of course. Correct.
It was tabled at TAC, Mayor, so I didn't know if we had to table it at policy separately.
Any discussion? I just want to thank Mayor Boswell for helping us out in this
Yes.
endeavor. Any question, concerns? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. It's tabled. Thank you, sir.
Item 2.4, discussion on 2021-2024 STIP timeline update. That timeline is in your packet. Mainly I have that for in case Pete has any updates to that I may not be aware of. From the staff side, it's my understanding Federal Highways is still working on it, and they have set the date for hopefully the end of May to have the STIP approved. And then we will wait word to move forward on if we will have an August revision, but I invite Pete to correct anything there I may not be accurate on.
No, as it's presented, that is correct. We are hopeful FHWA approves it.
Mhm.
That way we can go on to the next step, and get an update, the amendment through the tip.
All right. Action item? Correct.
No, sir, it was just an update.
Information. All right.
Yes, sir. Item 2.5, discussion and update of federal certification review from 2020. Staff is not prepared to provide this. We were hopeful. We were in communication with Mike Leary, the director of the Texas section of Federal Highways Administration. As you will recall, we had our certification back in December. I know several of the board members met with Federal Highways and Federal Transit via Zoom for the interview process on that. We have not received the final documentation. I know that the MPO did overly well. We're just waiting for Federal Highways to tell you that staff did really well on it, and they're not prepared as of yet, so I'm hoping by the next policy board meeting. That it? Item 2.6, discussion and action of official RGVMPO logo.
Finally, something important.
Sorry, I have to chuckle on that after 2 years. Staff took what we understood to be the guidance. I know I received some in writing, and we narrowed it down to the 2 images that you have there. On the background, I did provide some information. I did make some phone calls to the vendors that provide our business cards, our shirts, some of our swag, if you will. The thing I would ask the board to consider is that the logo on the right-hand side is quite a bit more expensive because of the inclusion of all the colors. The logo on the left-hand side is less expensive because of the fewer colors. But I think that took into the spirit of what we were provided at the
Along with
last
bike and
board.
the car is more expensive.
Yes, sir, because we have green, blue, tan, gray. We have a plethora of more colors there.
Board? Anybody have any comments, suggestions? We start from scratch or we pick one?
I say start at the last.
So 3 boundaries, right?
Please. Yes, that's all 3 boundaries.
We're about to bring in Star.
That is Star.
Where?
On the
Oh, yeah.
left side.
It is.
I was thinking since McAllen is right about them.
Oh, my gosh. Just for the record, negotiating $14 million was easier.
Go with bar, right?
That's right.
Put us out of our misery and select number 1.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes, thank God.
We'll buy everybody here cocktails. It's on me. Thank you. Item number 3, Executive Director's Report and updates. On the first one, we have recognition of a board member, which, would you like to do this or you want me to continue? Yes, sir. So we have a gentleman who I've come to grow and think of very closely as a friend, and also a gentleman who's never hesitated to tell me when my head wasn't screwed on right, and also to pat me on the back when it is.
We're talking about the same guy?
We are.
Okay.
And there's only once in all the years working with Mayor Darling that I had a conversation with him where I hung up the phone and I really wasn't even certain I was talking to him, because it was the merger and we were running back and forth with signatures and everything. He called me and I'd never heard the mayor quite passionate about something so much before. So
Colorful word.
It was a colorful afternoon. So with that, staff and the board for outstanding vision, dedication, and commitment to excellence with 6 years of loyal dedication and service on an MPO board, Mayor, we want to give this to you and say thank you very much for all the guidance that you provided to the board as well as to staff. I have appreciated it very much, and you'll be missed after the elections are wrapped up, but we want to thank you for everything you've done for us.
You need to put the new logo up there. He voted for the new logo, okay?
Oh, Commissioner, you're killing me.
Just give me $5, but they didn't listen to me, man.
Thanks. Shadows.
I would suggest either move forward or back to the shadows.
The shadows,
Okay.
man.
We've done it before. Slide over.
Okay. Go outside.
We can do flag.
That's right. We didn't. There you go.
1, 2, 3. Let's be standing.
Real camera.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Good, everybody, meeting.
Yeah, I really appreciate all your guys and ladies and working together, and this just shows when we work together what we can do, and we're just starting, so it's going to be fantastic, and thanks, and it's been an honor to serve with you, and I'll be around. You can still make fun of me whenever you want, and I enjoy it. Thanks a lot, I appreciate it.
Well said, Mayor. Congratulations.
Next item, new office location. We have no update for you. We're still waiting. Obviously, Federal Highways, their emphasis is taking care of the STIP and getting that approved. Staff is eagerly waiting for them to approve our budget as well. Some other things like functional classification. I know some of your staff have reached out. They're concentrating on the STIP at this time. FY 21-22 TASA update. We had a workshop yesterday via Teams that was very well attended. We're excited. I want to remind everyone that the TASA program opens Tuesday, 8 a.m. There will be a link on the MPO website for all the forms and material for you to submit. It's 2.3, is that correct, Eva? $2.3 million available through the TASA program. And that closes July 30th. Fantastic. So we invite you to please submit something there.
Just a real quick comment on this program. Just want to remind all local governments, if you submit a project, your project is selected, the expectation is we follow through. We still have projects from 2017 and 2019 that have not been delivered.
Yes.
And we're this close to losing the funding on those projects.
Yes.
And so if your project is selected, anything and everything to get that project to letting should be done.
Which projects? 2017, 2019?
Donna
Sidewalk.
sidewalk project.
Okay.
Closest one, but the Cano Trail lighting is just letting.
Yes.
What?
The Cano Trail lighting, that is letting go. So that should not be problematic.
Okay.
And we have a couple of kinks that I'm comfortable in saying I think we're going to work out with the McAllen, Edinburgh, Jackson Street connection. We've been in constant communication with both parties there in TxDOT to work that out. McAllen is the fiduciary lead on that, and we're trying to make sure that everything is, because if the board may recall, and I'm not certain at the time, well, it was the CMPO at the time. At the time, we were unable to fully fund the amount that was requested from the city of McAllen. It was an allocation of $400,000 and change. The project was about $3 million. So the city is working with Edinburgh to see maybe where they could trim some fat, and there may be some staging to it, but we're working with them to try to make sure that we do not have any lapse on that money. The one we're most concerned about, mayor and committee members, is Don, because if it doesn't get the FPAA obligation authority by this September, we will lose that money, and that's.
How much money is it?
That project, I think it's 200 plus thousand, so it might be up to 300,000. But I think in this example, if you are applying for a HACCP program, what we noticed was the map, the project map that was submitted in the application wasn't the map that went into the AFA, and then the map for the engineering plan was different, and so the cost was really high and over budget. And so we were just trying to trim the cost by reflecting the proper map and removing. But to your point, if you're putting in your application that you're going to connect to a park or connect to a school, ensure that you're showing that. And
I'm about to explain.
The budget in there. So the application is a little bit more complex and thorough, and you won't necessarily score on all of the questions, but that additional information and those additional questions are exactly to help reduce this kind of stress and burden in our community. We are a physically constrained area and economically disadvantaged, so we definitely don't want to lose any money. We got 39 more million, I'm not sure how much was in category 2 and category 7 with the merger, but we got $0 more in category 9 funding. So we have a larger boundary, more communities applying, and less, not less money, but equal money that we had.
And Ava's right, and also to Pete's comment, and we just ask everybody, be very comprehensive. The hurdle that we have run into with the city of Donna is that they have 2 cross points at the railroad on Business 83, and that wasn't taken into account for ADA compliance and having to have gates, and that's almost $250,000 that they did not account for with their application. That I guess they just weren't mindful of the cost that was going to be associated with that to do that. So it's not just as simple as putting down a sidewalk and having a ramp at a curb cut to get across the railroad. It's not that easy. So just do your due diligence, please.
The total allocation is all projects.
2.3 for all. Well, then there's a 10%, so about $200,000 for planning, Mayor, for planning efforts only.
Is there a limit for project?
No, sir. You can submit as much as you can. Well, one of the things that we look for is the greater the local participation, like any of our projects we do. Yes, sir. We look at that because with it being such a smaller amount, I mean, Ava's right, it's a smaller amount for a region-wide basis. We want to make sure that we're able to extend that money for as far as we can. If we can get more linear square feet of sidewalk with Project A because they're putting in more money than we can with B, then we would ask the board to consider Project A because we're getting more return on the investment for the dollar.
In our workshop yesterday, we did encourage any applicants to coordinate with TxDOT or with ourselves. We can help get them the proper cost estimates for those kind of considerations like pedestrian crossing.
Is there any way to shift the money and not, or do we just have to?
It's too late.
Run it for it?
Commissioner, it's too late because we wouldn't be able to go back through, select another project that is so ready they could get it executed FPAA by September.
But like this McAllen project that's short, you could put money there.
I can explain that.
Yeah,
No, I mean, it's no.
Yeah, it's no because of the expiration of the fund. And so the project for McAllen was funded later, and
it's not scheduled to let till later.
and so we can't hold on to the money and be more.
So you don't have any projects in Hidalgo, because it's Hidalgo County, it's headache, right? You have no projects in Hidalgo County that are short or could use that money?
You would need the advanced funding agreement. You would need the plans to already be at least 60% or 90% design phase, and there's none.
Yes, sir.
None or that,
Not at that level to be let in September. No,
Correct.
not that.
or they're in the process already?
Because their project was being developed, but it was.
No, I know. Well, no, my only question is there's no projects in Hidalgo County that are either ready to go or are in the middle that could use this money.
Not to be let by September, no.
No, I don't care about letting. One that's already in progress already.
But it has to let by September. That's the caveat to that.
Andrews.
Yes, sir.
What about the hike and bike trail? Even though it's already funded, If we add something for those 290,000, since we already have contracted?
That's what I'm
Is a
asking.
good question.
No,
That one I
you're-
don't know.
You're saying no because,
I mean, I can look at text out, but my understanding is an FPAA is what's needed to obligate the funding, and we cannot get an FPAA just by transferring the
don't
funding.
use acronyms because most aren't as smart as you.
What is the Federal Participation Agreement, Authorization and Agreement?
Federal aid.
And you're not allowed to make up acronyms.
Workshop, but I don't have it.
Okay, well, who controls this? You or you? This decision?
Well,
It's come through.
No, no. I'm not gonna decide because
Use the money.
you're the one that has those rules. So like Eddie, that's what I was getting at. I know this project in Hidalgo County that are active, not ready to be let. I get that. But why couldn't you move that money over there to those active projects? And only one of you has the answer to that. We don't have the answer to that. You gotta educate us.
So this is the federal funding.
Whatever.
Comes through the state.
Yes, sir.
Allocated to the MPOs.
Yes, sir.
For selection. So we're in the process, but ultimately each individual entity that applies is the one that's controlling that funding. Because those projects were ranked, competed, and X amount.
Yeah, I know that, but we're past that. This guy's not, Donna's not gonna make it. We don't wanna lose the funds. This question is very simple. Can you move from project A to B, yes or no?
No.
At all? It's just, no?
No, because the FPA, the agreement is for that project. You can't go from one project to another in this case.
You can't get a new whatever acronym.
It's already led and went through a process.
And that's the thing, it's a timely process. It's a timely process to get the advanced agreement and to get to FBAA. And unfortunately, that's the issue with category 9 projects, is they're not moved in a timely manner. But hopefully now with that.
Because of our staff or because, what do you mean?
Because of the.
The partners, the cities or the counties, whoever
Now-
at the end is.
Pete, just for clarification, had we known about this as an example, had we known about this a year ago, would we have been able to move the money around?
We knew about this.
No, but a year
We had
ago.
a workshop in this building.
The answer is yes, Eddie.
no, but he's saying for the delay.
No,
We've known about the delay.
no, that's what,
Like if we could tell that it wasn't gonna get
come
done,
to fruition. Could we have worked on it then and had enough time to get it done?
what, more or less, what would have been the time frame? A year in advance or 2 years in advance?
Preferably a year and a half to 2 years.
Got
So
it.
that the project development for another project could progress in time to allow us all the process to take its place.
But let's say that there was no other projects in development, but there is a project that was being worked on.
Correct.
Could we have added that money a year and a half ago to the existing project?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've done that before, where projects were removed and others were added, as approved by the council.
Andrew, is there a sidewalk
Yes,
project?
yes.
Are y'all
We're the lead,
participating?
yeah, we're the lead.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's funded. We're good there.
So,
I thought it was San Juan or PSJ.
No,
You're the
it's,
lead.
it's far San Alamo and PSJ
But you're
together,
the
but
lead.
we're the lead. yes.
Okay.
And it's fully funded. I appreciate the gesture, but it's, we'll take it, but it's too short.
LinkedIn.
Yes, sir.
If funds are possible, y'all ever asked permission of the governing body to, where they've told you no, right? So if you haven't asked, could you ask and say, hey, they're not gonna make it, COVID related for whatever reason, and
An extension.
Yeah.
Well, we visit with them weekly. We're visiting with them every week to see where we are in the process because we haven't still
With
received.
governing body.
Right,
not
right now.
Donna.
He's not.
But Donna,
That the one that say no.
but right now, we couldn't
The
even do
feds.
that because it's Donna.
So when's the last time you brought it to this board to let us know you're about to run, the clock is ticking? Officially, we're letting you know.
I've never done it. I started in September and we started joining the project meeting 3 months ago. So this is me catching up, looking
Yeah,
at the projects.
I understand.
And now coming.
No, I just wanted you to say that because I don't remember ever hearing about it.
No, sir.
Okay.
First we heard about it is about 3 months ago from the city of Donna that they were running.
Yeah, but right, but our staff and the prior staff should have been on it regardless, whether Donna brings it up or not, because that's our job.
Well,
That is our job. It's our money. To make sure things are, what does he always say? Get them shovel ready. Get them shovel ready. So we got to be proactive and stay on them.
well, that is true, Mayor, but when we have conversations with local governments, so it's much like we do with added capacity projects, and we ask them about the status report of their projects, and we're told, oh, we're moving along and we're gonna meet this date, and we take that in good faith, and then we get closer to that date, and then we find out that we're not moving forward. I don't make it a habit of second guessing the local government when their status report to me is that they're right on time, which is what we've always been given on this project up until about 3 months ago.
My response to that is that we're provided with this program.
Correct.
Yes, thank you, sir.
It was, Commissioner, that there were caveats in it, much like with the railroad crossings, that they didn't do more due diligence when they submitted the application for the budget. So as of right now, the budget is $1 million above what they originally submitted.
They didn't plan it right. They didn't account for everything.
I mean, that $1 million is big.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It most certainly is. And that's why we're meeting with them. We have been for several weeks now on a weekly basis, because we're still meeting with them and we're meeting with TxDOT staff to find out where are opportunities that maybe we could phase in something so we don't lose the money. Can we look at opportunities to take the sidewalks up to just short of the railroad crossings and not have to deal with that with gates and pedestrian facilities? So there's not that added $200,000+ per gate. We're trying to examine those possibilities so it could still meet the spirit of what the application was without losing the money from the region. And that's why we're meeting. I met with them, I met with them Monday.
We've been able to reduce the cost so that it's hopefully more manageable for
Yes.
them to find funding, but it's still up to them to find the additional. But we have reduced the cost.
No.
And we're still waiting for Donna to give us the final word because, I mean, from the staff and the board level, respectfully, I don't know if there's an opportunity without Donna saying, okay, we can't do it like Ed Couch did, to say we can't do it, we surrender the funds. I mean, we don't just go in and grab the money away. So Ed Couch knew that they were running into a situation on financial constraints and they were unable to meet the spirit. And we had enough time to shift that funding over to UTRGV for their project that was skipped over for the bike share program. We're still waiting on Donna to give us a positive affirmation of, yes, it's narrowed down enough on the fat we can deal with it, or there's just no chance and we're sorry. And we haven't been given that yet.
Did you get I know you got a letter from RGVMPO when they didn't get funded. Did you get one when they did get funded?
No, sir.
What for?
I hear more when things don't go the way they should than when they do.
But, just for clarification, but now, from now on, as the clock is ticking, you're going to let us know as a board, right? Okay, that's number one. Number two, we fund everything, but we can, if it's not working, and I don't care if it's me, that I'm not giving you reports, I think this board has every right to say, you know what, we talked to you, we reached out to you, we're a year out or whatever she says, year and a half out, you're going to lose money for us to bring that project back, and we defund it and put it somewhere else.
Well,
Or start the process, because we're not just going to wait to the last minute.
Well, there's some legal aspect to that, Mayor, that would prevent that, such as executed AFAs, which they have on that project. So since
So
they
what,
have
you
that-
can't cancel AFAs or what?
The board.
Exactly, that's an excuse, of course we can.
Yeah, just for the record, it was in City of El Senate.
Oh, sorry. No.
Thank you for clarification. Yes.
For the record, since Mayor Molina, I can send
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, sir.
Moving on then.
Mayor, just a
Wait.
quick comment. Through the other programs that the LRGVD has, we have that latitude we have several committees. Those committees allocate funds. And even though it's a contract between the jurisdiction or the state or the federal government, we come right back and set our own local deadline so that we're able to reallocate those funds in
Yeah,
a timely manner. Because granted, like you said, it's our funding. Why
It
lose
is.
it? Give it back if we can.
I assure you, we have that power. I don't think we've ever used it, but I know we do. And if it's going to put our funding at risk for whatever, I don't care if it's far as project, and we're not responding, you guys got to give us a deadline so the board can take action and move it to some other project so we don't lose it and we have enough time to do it. Right, that's all I'm saying.
Pete says it's a year and a half. that
Right,
they
that's-
need.
that's-
So a year and a half before, hey,
I'm happy to, I'm the biggest advocate of bike ped projects.
But for all projects, I'm saying for all projects.
I just think sometimes from my perspective, that the bike ped projects do get on the lower of the priority list, and sometimes we don't have that attention, but now you will.
Great, because we used to have that problem in the Dow County MPO where people would get money and just sit, and they never brought it to fruition. And we don't want that anymore.
we're
All
ready to
problems.
spend good
Well,
cameras.
see, no, I understand. Anyways, that's all. Action item, just information, right?
Just information.
Okay, next.
Financial update, Staff is presently, oh, sorry. Staff is presently 29.96% expended on our 2-year budget. We should be at 79%, so we are below budget. Staff, I know we will be coming back to the board in the next couple of months to ask for shifting some funds. Because of the way some of the billings came in at the beginning of the year, we're over on some of our sub accounts and way under another. So we have the opportunity to move some money around without penalty to cover that and take care of that overrun. On the last item we have, historically, we haven't had a June or a July meeting. So what staff is asking is we would move forward with the June 10th Technical Advisory Committee as planned, and we would like to combine the June and July meeting to July 14th at 1 p.m. here in this room, which would be middle of July, but it gives us an opportunity to get everything prepared. And if we did have a tip cycle moving forward, we would be able to have the board vote on it at that time.
Well, that's fine, but we're ready to go for the tip update, right? All paperwork, all documentation, everything.
We're working on it every day, waiting for someone to tell us if we're going to have one or not.
But it is ready.
Well, no, it's not ready because the board has.
I know what we have to do, but from your perspective, okay, listen to the question. All you guys have done, all your due diligence, all the paperwork. If it gets approved tomorrow, for us to be able to adjust it, we can submit everything. I don't want to get there and say, well, we're missing this document. That's all I'm asking. We're ready to go, right?
No.
Oh, we're not. All right.
But you will be by the 14th of July.
That's why we're working on it and talking daily on it to make sure where we are in the way of finances before we bring it to the advisory committee.
Okay, just please don't miss the deadline.
So Andrew, did I hear you correctly? Did you say the TAC would remain on June the 10th?
Correct.
And the policy board meeting would be July the 14th?
Correct.
Would it be advisable to,
Still have a June, July TAC meeting?
well, have a TAC meeting maybe June 24th?
We were discussing maybe even at the very beginning of July, the first week, so we covered everything before.
Yeah, because
that was something I was going to bring up with it.
After June the 10th,
Right.
that the TAC would not have a chance to review.
I was going to bring that up
Okay.
with the TAC chairman to see just about that.
Great, very nice. What else?
That's all from staff.
Okay,
Then
Status
status reports, I guess, text dot.
thanks, Pete.
Hello. Good afternoon, members of the board. I am very excited to be back and present to you the construction project updates on behalf of TxDOT. My name is Nayeli Parra, and I'm from the Fire Area Office. I will be providing an update on a couple of projects in Hidalgo County. And after that, Mr. Carlos Ceballos from the San Benito Area Office will be presenting on the projects in the Cameron County. Next slide. Oh, thank you. The first update will be on the State Highway 186 project. The limits of the project are from the Expressway US 281 to the Hidalgo-Willacy County line. This project consists of the reconstruction and widening of the existing roadway. The contractor is Asago, and the project is at 78% completed as of today, and the estimated completion date is July 2021. So we're almost there. Next, oh, perfect, thank you. This first picture here was taken facing east. We can see that the north side of the roadway is already completed, and the traffic is currently driving on that side throughout the project. The south side of the project, which are going to be the eastbound lanes, is also completed from the Expressway US 281 all the way to FM 493. To put it into perspective, the net length of the project total is 9.6 miles, and the contractor has already completed all 9.6 miles on the westbound lanes, the ones that are striped. And then on the westbound lanes, sorry. And on the other side, which is the north side, approximately 9.3 miles have already been completed out of the 9.6. Those are going to be the eastbound lanes. And if we can please go to the next slide. This picture was taken facing west. Here in the picture, we can see that the last portion of the eastbound lanes, also known as the south side, which is from FM 493 to the Hidalgo-Willacy County line. These are the 3/10 of the mile remaining that we mentioned in the previous slide. So here we're currently working on the last 4 inches of flex base, and after that we'll prime this section and pave it. Once both sides are completed, a final course of 1.5 inches of hot mix will be applied, and the final striping will be installed as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. The second project that I am going to be providing an update on is the US 83 project. The limits of this project are from 2.2 miles west of FM 2221 all the way to FM 2221, also known as Jarachinas Road. This project consists of the rehabilitation of an existing non-freeway facility that includes the east and westbound lanes. The contractor is Foremost Paving, and the project is 65% completed as of today. The estimated completion date is July 2021, which is around the corner also. In this first picture, we can see, thank you. We can see the inside and outside westbound lanes that have already been completed throughout the project. We're just pending the last 2-inch overlay that is scheduled to start during the first week of June, weather permitting. Next slide, please. Thank you. In this next picture, we can see the inside and outside eastbound lanes. They have also been completed, as we can see. And the contractor is currently laying down the final 2-inch overlay on the outside shoulder, as you can see in the picture. After the final overlay is finished, the permanent striping will be installed. Now I'll pass it on to Mr. Carlos Ceballos from the San Benito area office.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Carlos Ceballos, project manager with the San Benito area office. I'll be giving you an update on a couple of projects in the Cameron County area. The first project we have is the FM 1847. The limits of the project are from FM 106 to 2893. Scope of the project is a rehabilitation of the existing roadway. The contractor of this project is Foremost Paving. The project is approximately 64% complete. The estimated completion date is March of 2022. Here, as you can see in that picture, contractor is working on the east side of the east half of the road, and the traffic is on the west side of the road, and the contractor is preparing the base material. This picture you can actually see in a different section of the project. It's a pretty long project. In this section, the contractor has already actually placed the prime coat and in preparation for the seal coat. Next picture, please. On this slide, you can see the actual construction of the driveways. We actually already installed also the cross drainage structures at the driveways, and we continue working on the driveways, and we have also placed the seal coat in that section of the road. Next slide, please. This next project is FM 802 in Brownsville. The limits of this project are from 1847 to Old Port Isabel Road. This project involves the construction of a raised median and roadway widening and an overlay. Contractors, Texas Cordia Construction. This project is approximately 42% complete. The estimated completion date is February of 2022. And this picture you can see, we actually have a barrier, low profile barrier. We're working on the middle section of the road. We have traffic on the 2 outer lanes, and we're working on the subgrade and installing geograde material. Next slide, please. In this picture, you can actually see we actually started placing the concrete piles. This is as part of the bridge winding that we're doing on that project to close the gap in the middle. Next picture, please. In this picture, you can actually see the piles have been installed on both sides of the bridge. That will serve for the abutment, for the foundation of the bridge. And do you all have any questions for any of the area offices?
Y'all just did a seal coat in rock. This is y'all written on it?
Yes, we're aware of that location. Okay. Yeah, we'll look
So you
into
can
it.
slow down, Frank.
No, we're aware and we're looking into it, and we'll address it. Any other questions?
There's a bike ride, when you do these roads, they have to go side, whatever it is. You don't need to repave that. You guys pay that with horse gravel.
Shoulders.
Yeah, so I believe you're referring to the shoulders.
Yeah.
And so what we typically do, Mayor, is we skip a cycle. Typically, we do seal coats, which is a chip seal in other terms. We do those every 8 years. We skip 1 year. So we'll do the main lanes only, skip the shoulder. But after the 16th year, we have to do the full thing.
One more question.
Yes.
More importance to the people from Hidalgo. When is Los Fresnos job going to be taken care of, man? It's delaying traffic there to the island on a daily basis.
Use state highway budget to use the toll road.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's That's, you're talking about the SH 100 project, right, in Los
Yes.
Fresnos, yes.
Yes,
That project, just started,
I
so
know.
it's still, it's, you know,
Use the toll road.
Pues sí, dale suave.
we're,
I love the toll road, just for
Yeah.
18 minutes.
We appreciate it.
That's right.
So we are aware that
Yes.
it's gonna cause some delays
Yeah.
through
Yes.
that community. You have options, allow yourself plenty of time. Projects like this, while in construction, they do cause delays, but once they're completed, it'll be a much smoother ride.
It'd be great if you did that second span, the other highway on the north side.
Yeah,
Second
all the
access.
way.
See,
and if you notice also, we have a few messages throughout different areas of the project on 1847 and
Right.
on Port Isabel and Brownsville and 77 going southbound. Also, we have some message boards to alert the public to use alternate routes, but now we are aware
I
of
mean,
that.
we had COVID for a year with very little traffic.
Yeah.
And now that the pandemic is ending, the project starts. It could have probably been done by now.
It's all about the funding.
we'll text them.
We could've
We'll
borrowed.
text them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
No. Great presentation. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Cameron County RV.
Chairman, board members, good afternoon. I'll briefly go through my presentation. The first slide is the Southport connector, a little bit over 50% complete, and it should be completed by the end of the year. The next project is the Veterans Bridge project that we discussed earlier, so we can move on to the next slide, which is the East Loop, the Gap 2 project. This is the last segment remaining between I-69E in Olmito and the entrance to the Port of Brownsville. So once we get this segment completed, we will have an interstate corridor going to the Port of Brownsville. So we're working with our consultants. We're about 90% complete. We're working with Union Pacific on getting approval from them on the design. And we don't anticipate any issues with them, so we should be on schedule on this project. Next slide is the East Loop project. We continue to work on the environmental document. Right now, we're in the process of doing an archaeological survey. We're getting right of entries on property owners that are going to be impacted. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we're doing a land swap, about 40 acres. They have issued a FONSI on their environmental portion of the project. We're coordinating with IBWC right now because we're going to relocate a portion of the levee. So we're doing the hydraulic analysis. Once that's complete, we'll be able to proceed with the PS&E, but we do have schematics at the 90% that we're working with TxDOT on. Next slide is the West Rail Trail. We've had a public meeting on this project. We've submitted 60% PS&E, working with TxDOT on addressing those comments. And we're looking at different funding alternatives for this project, one of which is TASA funds. The next slide is the Florida Maya Bridge. We about 80% complete with the presidential permit application. We should be able to submit it to the Department of State in the next couple of months. Next slide is the Morrison Road project, working with MPO and TxDOT Federal Highway on getting the project functionally classified. Next slide is the Old Dallas Road project. We're real close to getting environmental clearance on this project. The right-of-way is in place. Utilities have been relocated. PS&E, I believe we submitted 60% to TxDOT. We should have 100% PS&E by the end of July. So this project will be ready to lead in a couple of months. And it is fully funded through Category 7 funding. Next slide, FM 509. Today, the commission approved a minute order, bringing the project on system. And so we're working locally with local funds, with the district office, and trying to accelerate the development of this project. So we'll be investing a little bit more local funds than what we had anticipated, but that will allow us to move forward with the project a lot quicker than the traditional method. Next slide. SPI Second Access. This project is a whole project, so it's still on hold, but we're looking at different possibilities for this project that we've discussed with the district engineer. Our next slide is the South Parallel Corridor Phase 2 project, pretty much ready to go. It's got a 21 letting. Next slide is the phase 3. We're working with Cameron County on this project and their consultant. Next slide, 2-to-1 connector. We will be going to go through a consultant selection process. This road will connect Interstate 69E with Military Highway. Next slide, West Boulevard. This is the roadway segment of the abandoned rail right-of-way in Brownsville. And so we're working with the MPO staff and the district staff, Federal Highway, to functionally classify the project. Next slide is Whipple Road. This is in Los Fresnos. We're working with the city. We've got 60% schematics at TxDOT. We're also working on the environmental document for the project. Next slide, US 77. We continue to advocate to complete the entire corridor between Brownsville and Corpus. Then the next couple of slides have to do with our technology projects at the international bridges in Cameron County, as well as the coastal parks at South Island. And a lot of projects, I think 14 of them that we're working on, are listed in the border master plan. So, Mr. Chairman, I know Commissioner Cantu left, but 2 of my bosses are here, Commissioner Garza and Chairman Parker, and with their permission, I'll volunteer myself to work with MPO staff, develop a presentation that we can then take to the Transportation Commission and give them a report on our 2-year merger and make them aware of our funding needs that we have as an MPO. And as the 5th largest MPO in the state, see what opportunities are out there for other funding categories that we can utilize or tap into. And most importantly, there's a lot of talk about a public infrastructure stimulus package coming down from DC. I think we need to put our priorities, our needs, in the eyes of the commission and the new executive director at TxDOT, and then move on from there. I think it's an excellent opportunity. You know, what Commissioner Cantu brought up is a real good point. That was one of the main reasons why we merged, is to be able to tap into additional funding. And being the 5th largest MPO in the state, we ought to get ourselves in front of the commission and at least make them aware of what our funding needs, you know, for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years are. So I'm here to help. If you all need help, I'd be more than glad to volunteer.
Do it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great. Vidal County RMA.
Good afternoon, Chairman, board members. For the record, my name is Ramon Navarro. I'm the Chief Construction Engineer for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. We can move on to slide 3. I'll be extremely brief in summarizing our project priorities here. On the 365 toll project, we continue administering necessary gap funding with the partnering agencies, and rest assured, our persistency has not let up on receiving TxDOT's administrative directive on when we can get a minute order and a PDA approved by the Transportation Board. Upon that, we hopefully can hit our moving target of a letting date and set that prior to September, and before we have to reissue another budgetary or economical plan or economy plan or finance plan set forth and revise that. Our opinion of probable construction costs remains at $255 million. As time goes on, this will be vulnerable to increase, and I'll show you why here shortly. On the IBTC project, we can stay on slide 3. On the IBTC project, we continue to await the decision of record on the environmental justices. There has been mention of possible amendments due to pedestrian facilities and accessibilities, but we hope we can get this decision of record prior to this amendment coming through with the new design manual and moving forth with the right-of-way and design on this project. On the West Loop project, or segment C, I'm proud to say that we entered into a interlocal agreement with the City of Mission for the environmental processes on the Mission Madero Reynosa International Bridge. We have amended this agreement seeking local government support for a extended North Rail project. We successfully went into Jim Hogg County and acquired their support for the project. And we anticipate going to Brooks and Duval to get the extended region on board for the proposed conceptuals on these railroad projects. Moving on to slide 13, the overweight network. It's administered, of course, by the authority. To date, as of the year, to date, January 1st, 2014, it was conceptualized. We've issued approximately 198,000 permits and collected approximately $31,103,532. It was just brought to my attention that this funding, the majority of this funding goes to TxDOT, and this is put to use for the overweight overload network. And they are utilizing this additional funding here in Hidalgo County with paving improvements and project improvements. So as to date, they have pulled 7.6 million out of this money and have utilized it for upcoming projects and in-house design.
Where's the other 18 million?
That's coming up on the 1015 improvements, I believe.
Is it?
So we have several projects identified.
Sure.
Most of the money that has been collected already went to the military project, UP 281, the concrete paving. And then we have other projects, overlays, rehabs identified that will be utilizing this fund.
So next slide. As for this year, we have issued 13,321 permits for approximately 2.7 million. Next slide. The pandemic seems to have taken a dip last year. In comparison to last year, we're at 72.4%. Numbers did increase, and I forgot my glasses, but we do have an increase on issued permits in comparison to this time last year. Next slide. As you can see, looking at the 2020 to 2021 scale of index, the economy is on a boost, and you can tell. The interest is steadily increasing, and that makes time our enemy as far as funding projects. Next slide. As you can see, everything is on the up and up as far as pricing. The old asphalt that used to be the underdog is now just up there with concrete. And as far as lumber, chemicals and property requirements, plastics, lumber, steel, everything is going up. And the more we wait, the higher the cost is going to be. So this summarizes my report. May I entertain any questions at this time?
Overweight corridor, how much money do you collect every year?
On the overweight corridor?
Yeah.
I believe that's approximately 20, Mr. Bilat, I believe already.
You go to the slide for the year.
The prior year? Yeah. There you go.
So roughly around 6 million a year.
6 million a year.
I was going to say 7, but yeah, 6 on a good month. If there's no other questions, yes, sir.
Nice to take a look at. I talked to Chief of Police very differently. Rather take a look, maybe somehow city participating in that because we're taking the front.
I think legislatively, we're going to have to step in and deal with it. That's why I'm asking those questions.
That is an issue that we need to take up as we do build the toll roads, and destinations and points of origin do come up within cities and their municipalities. They need to politically designate and extend these overweight corridors and appropriately build roads in the correct manner to standards. But of course, it all takes money, right? But
we're not building anything. We're sending you to the IBTC.
To the toll, yes, sir.
That's right. The toll roads. We're not building squat.
Yes, sir.
Right now.
Yes, sir.
That was going to be my point, Mayor. 365 and IBTC should help focus those overweight trucks on those corridors and get them off the city streets.
But politically, we still have to get the local governments to designate destination routes to their points of origin within the communities themselves.
Yeah, we'll close the roads down to semi. Don't worry.
It's easy to do.
Yeah, that's easy.
If there's no further comments, I wish everybody a great extended weekend and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, regional transit, Metro.
Good afternoon, policy members. My name is John Bocanegra. I am a business manager with City of McAllen. I work with Metro. This is March 2021, the report. We'll start off with Brownsville Metro. For March 2021, they had 52,778 riders. This is kind of, this is still a decrease from last year. This would be, I guess, around 1 full year since the COVID pandemic began affecting a lot of our ridership. You can go to the next slide. There were 5,783 revenue hours, 71,535 revenue miles, which were, that was a cut in hours, but an increase in miles. So you go to the next slide. Island Metro had 22,909 riders in March. This would be a 10% dip. And you can go to the next slide. But you can see they increased their revenue hours and revenue miles. Next slide. Metro McAllen in March had 43,382 riders. Right now, what I can report for the city of McAllen is that we are still requiring masks in all of our facilities. FTA has not lifted any sort of regulations for that. You can go to the next slide. And there's our cut in hours and miles. We are still kind of, this is when we started slowing service for one of our routes. You can go to Valley Metro. 18,872 riders for Valley Metro. They are not including UTRGV and STC in their ridership numbers anymore. You can go to the next slide. And there's their revenue hours and miles. They've stayed steady with 7,574 revenue hours and 172,154 revenue miles. A combined ridership in March of 137,000 riders. If there's any questions, please let me know. All right, thank you.
Great job, sir. Thank you. Anybody have any questions, gentlemen? Thank you, sir. Okay. Item 6, old business or new? Anybody have any comments, concerns? Yes, Pete. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
The one thing that we might keep in mind is the census will impact Category 2 and Category 7 monies. So the sooner we have those numbers, the sooner they can be incorporated into the formulas. And hopefully the more money that would be able to come down here. Secondly, I would encourage you all to take advantage of Mr. Sepulveda's offer and put something together because the UTP is getting ready to be adopted. The discussions start in June and they will adopt in August. It would be appropriate for a representative group of this board to be in Austin for the June TxDOT meeting, commission meeting, and present. And we need to hold their feet to the fire. When they wanted this merger, they were here monthly, it seemed like. And, we went through the whole process of bringing people together.
We did.
So now we need to go over there and say, okay, guys, we're working together. It's 2 years now. Tell us what you're going to help us with.
Okay.
So June.
All right. Duly noted, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, just, Pete mentioned it, but we're going to have a new executive director, Mark Williams, who is currently our deputy executive director, will now assume the role of executive director effective June the 1st.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
June, what's the third week?
It's the last Thursday of the month usually. So I don't know the exact date. I want to say it's
Mr. Sepulveda with Mark can put something together, circulate it through the whole group, and then if we had a delegation of 10 folks show up, it makes a huge statement to these folks.
Okay.
24.
Okay.
June 24th, yes.
Yeah. Duly noted. Yes, sir. All right. Item 7, our next policy board meeting is when?
July 14th at 1:30 p.m. this room.
Okay. Having said that, let's move to adjourn. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Time is 3:01.